It is with great sorrow that Officer Apple answered his final call on June 26, 2021.
Coming up on your 5 News at 6, people across the state coming together today in Northwest Arkansas to pay tribute to fallen police officer Kevin Apple. And here is video captured after the funeral services at Cross Church in Rogers today of Officer Apple's mother receiving the flag from her son's service. It was one of many moving tributes during today's funeral for the fallen Pea Ridge officer. We'll have full team coverage ahead here on your 5 News at 6. Good evening and thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Erica Thomas. Today's funeral comes less than a week after Officer Apple died in the line of duty. 5 News reporter Catherine Gilker has been in Rogers all day for today's service. Catherine?
Pea Ridge officer Kevin Apple's patrol car is no longer sitting here serving as a memorial. Pea Ridge police say it was taken back to town where it is being repaired. Earlier today, hundreds of law enforcement officers, first responders, family and friends all gathered here to honor the life and legacy of a man who they say had a heart of gold and would do anything for anyone.
It is with great sorrow that Officer Apple answered his final call on June 26, 2021.
Officer Apple gave his heart, soul, and ultimately his life to the community that he loved.
Officer Kevin Apple served the Northwest Arkansas community for 23 years, with almost the last 3 years at the Pea Ridge Police Department. Chief Lynn Hahn says it takes a special kind of person to become a police officer. You have to have empathy, grace, and compassion. And Officer Apple had all that and much, much more.
His life exemplified the best of humanity. He was a professional. He treated everyone fairly with dignity. He was approachable, always had a kind word to say, and if you know Apple, you know that he absolutely loved to make people smile.
Chief Lynn Hahn says Apple was an officer who wasn't there to write tickets or make arrests. He was there to change lives. Since Apple's passing, Hahn says they've heard lots of stories from people who he helped, showing how he always went above and beyond his call of duty.
Officer Apple had conducted a welfare check on one of our elderly citizens a few months ago, and since that time, every time he worked on shift, he would go by in the morning and see her and check on her again. He wasn't asked to do that. No one asked him to do that. He did that out of the kindness of his heart.
Pastor Ben Shanahan challenges people to embrace the values that were most important to Apple: gratitude, loyalty, and sacrifice.
Officer Apple displayed his love for the city of Pea Ridge and his fellow officers in the greatest way possible Saturday, June 26th, 2021, when he paid the ultimate sacrifice.
Pea Ridge Mayor Jackie Crabtree declared December 12th as Officer Kevin Apple Remembrance Day after his badge number 1212.
As Officer Apple, badge 1212, served his community and his fellow officers with pride, bravery, and dedication. May he rest peacefully, knowing that he is greatly loved and will never be forgotten.
The hundreds of law enforcement officers who were here today were not just from Northwest Arkansas, but they were here from all across the country showing their support to the Pea Ridge Police Department. I'm live in Rogers covering news where you live. Catherine Gilker, 5 News.
All right, Catherine, thanks. Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson and Attorney General Leslie Rutledge attended Officer Apple's funeral to honor his life and time in law enforcement today. 5 News reporter Bailey Devane joins us live with more. Bailey?
After 23 years in law enforcement, Arkansas state leaders honored and recognized Officer Apple for his long-standing dedication to helping others. Governor Asa Hutchinson took the podium, speaking about the importance of an officer's role in a community. Men and women sacrificing their own safety to keep people out of harm's way.
And he confronted danger to protect others. His death tragically illustrates the danger our law enforcement officers face every day to keep us safe.
Attorney General Leslie Rutledge followed. She spoke directly to Apple's family, thanking his mother for raising a good man.
Hearing the words, "officer down," is a phrase that makes all of our hearts stop. To my little girl, just like so many other little ones out there, Kevin wasn't an officer, he was a hero.
Both state leaders looked to the front row of the church to offer their deepest condolences to Apple's family.
Family, co-workers, and friends, this is a difficult time. It's a difficult time for all of us. And I think of the old gospel hymn that says, "There will be peace in the valley someday, O Lord, I pray."
And both Rutledge and Hutchinson read scripture as a part of a way to commemorate the fallen officer. I'm live in Rogers, covering news where you live. Bailey Devane, 5 News.
All right, Bailey, thanks. Local officials from the city where Officer Apple served also paying tribute today. During the funeral, Pea Ridge Mayor Jackie Crabtree highlighted the service and sacrifice of Officer Apple, and he ended his remarks by reading a proclamation declaring December 12th from this day forward as Officer Kevin Dale Apple 1212 Remembrance Day in Pea Ridge. 1212, of course, Officer Apple's badge number. Now the city will have a special day set aside to honor him. As he read that proclamation, the mayor, as so many others, were brought to tears. Well, we saw many people from at home and abroad even attending the procession for Officer Kevin Apple this morning. It began at 10 a.m., went across Benton County, ending across Church, with a sentimental stop in Pea Ridge along the route. 5 News reporter Tiffany Lee was there during that stop and continues our team coverage.
Tears fell and flags flew as the Pea Ridge community and hundreds of officers came together in solidarity to support fallen Officer Kevin Apple.
Everybody in Pea Ridge loved him, and I feel like he was such a good officer, and nobody would be out here if he wasn't, and we loved him so much.
Just a few minutes before he died, Officer Apple checked on Carson Coleman and her cheer team working at a fireworks stand last Saturday.
And it's like really an honor to know like we were one of the last people he talked to. So I think it's like very important that we're all out here to recognize him.
Recognizing the hero that he was as he spent his last few minutes protecting his community.
What would we be if we didn't have officers to protect us? Where would we be?
Thoughts that Laura Miller tells us she can't help but think after the loss of a beloved officer.
Because he did exactly what he was born to do, and he did it for so many years. And how do you say thank you? How would you say thank you for that?
You can't.
Thank you.
Not to him.
And while they can't thank him, they can support his fellow officers, which is exactly what they and hundreds of others did during the procession.
50 minutes, and not hardly a word was spoken for 50 minutes.
As cars passed by,
I think we saw the Bronx, New York, we saw Kansas, we saw Texas, we saw Missouri, Oklahoma.
Flags flew high.
We're here. Law enforcement's not going anywhere. They're the good guys. We're proud to have them.
There were so many people involved in the procession that it took more than half an hour for everyone to drive through Pea Ridge. In Pea Ridge, covering news where you live, Tiffany Lee, 5 News.
And that was earlier today in Rogers at Cross Church, where taps were played on trumpet to honor the 23-year police veteran. Our coverage of today's tributes to Officer Apple will continue tonight at 10 right here on Channel 5. And of course, you can check out more videos of today's procession and funeral service on our website and our free 5 News app.